guys, today I'm going to show you how I get a horse started with clicker training. This is Sefa. He's a thoroughbred off the track. I think he's around 10 years old, and he has been around the clicker. He's gotten treats when I've clicked just because I've been bringing him in with my other horses, but I've not actually done any one-on-one work with him. So I'm just going to kind of show you how I get a horse started. He can get a little nervous when tied up, and so I want to work on this with him to give him a stationary target and reinforce him standing in the cross ties. He's not tied right now. I just have the lead rope through an eye hook so he can move around if he needs to. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to load the clicker, and the way that I do that is I click and I give a treat. And I'm making sure to click and give the treat away from me, and when he's doing something that I like he's standing still, just kind of hanging out, I'm not clicking when he's being pushy or trying to get the food. I'm also turning my hand over to give the food until he's waiting patiently. He's a pretty patient guy, so I don't have to worry about that too much with him like I do with my baby horse. And eventually you'll see him look for the treat when he hears the click. And you want to do this 10, 15 times. Some horses you might have to do it multiple times with. Some, the first time they get it, totally fine. So I'm going to wait for him to not be asking for food. I'm going to wait till he kind of turns away. Because I don't want to reinforce this mugging behavior. So right there was when he did it. So I'm going to try this again. So right now he's searching for food, and I'm just going to wait patiently until he moves his nose back towards the wall, just like that. So that was really good. And normally I wouldn't do this in the same session, but since he's somewhat familiar with this, I'm going to go ahead and move on to using my target. This is just a pool noodle attached to the end of a dressage whip, and I'm just going to ask him to touch it with his nose, and then just reward that. And this is a great tool to get your horse to go lots of places, touch lots of different things. You can use it as a tool to ask for many different behaviors. So he's checking out my hand, and he's a little nervous. We've got some crazy wind happening outside. And I'm just going to wait for him to touch the noodle part with his nose. And a lot of this clicker training stuff is just a waiting game. You just have to be patient and wait for the behavior that you want. I love using this target to do carrot stretches. It's a great way to teach your horse to walk long and low while you're leading them. And he's checking out my hand again. And I'm just reinforcing that the food doesn't come from my hand, it comes from touching the target. You can combine this with a target command. Some of the horses and my dog, I'll say target, and that just kind of reminds them to touch the target. Good. So now I'm going to introduce, this is a stationary target. It's the same pool noodle attached to a hook. And I can clip this onto where I cross tie him, and that just reinforces him standing where he's tied. And so basically when you're grooming and tacking up, you can have one of these set up, and anytime they touch it, you can reinforce that. I like the pool noodle because you can usually hear them touch it with their nose, and then you don't have to be watching every single moment. You can kind of hear them nuzzling it, and it allows you to really reinforce when they do the thing that you're asking. And for him, I just want to be able to remind him to go to the target when he starts to get nervous. Because you'll see sometimes when he starts to get anxious, he'll get like a fearful look in his eye, and then he'll slowly start to back up. And then that leads to him typically pulling back on his lead rope, breaking a halter, and getting a little stressed out. So, catch it out. So I'm trying to give him a tool to teach him to come back to the wall rather than pulling back and getting stressed out that way. So I'm going to use this target to lead him back to the stationary target. Good. And there's a lot going on outside, so I'm actually really proud of him for being good. Got a whole flock of birds just took off, and it's been crazy windy. And there are also no horses in the barn, which sometimes makes him a little nervous to be alone. Target. That was close. There's never a bad time to click, really. He didn't touch it per se that last time. He just got really close to it. So even you can reward even close behaviors. You're not gonna, as long as you're getting better at reinforcing exactly the thing that you want, you're not gonna mess up by clicking at the wrong time. I've done it accidentally many times, and it hasn't really affected the training. So don't worry if you click at the wrong time. Go ahead and just give a treat and move on. Target. 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 This time I'm waiting for him to actually touch it. Yeah. Good boy. Target. Target. You can see he's kind of exploring and moving his head around to see what works to get him the food. And this is a huge part of the learning process. When they're able to kind of explore and figure stuff out on their own, it helps actually reinforce the learning rather than putting his head in a position and reinforcing it. Him figuring it out creates just a better, stronger learning that he's able to recall later. So again, there's just a lot of patience involved with clicker training. I'm just kind of waiting for him to do the thing. He's gonna chew on my hair, sniff my pockets. Hey buddy. Target. I'm gonna try to use this target to lead him back to the wall target again. Okay. And sometimes 5 or 10 minutes of this is enough for a horse, especially when they're first getting started. Good. So we're gonna end our session here. There we go. I'm gonna get one more click and then we'll be done for the day. Target. Good. Thanks for watching.